It's happening.
1, 2, 3.
Welcome, everybody, to the latest edition of the USFL Podcast, or maybe soon to be something else. I'm Zach Kyleman. It's the ref on the opposite side, and as you heard there, well, it's happening. And if you've been in the know, you understand where we are at. Finally, the official wording of what is to be a USFL XFL merger has been confirmed today. On September 28th of this year, as we are recording, these two leagues, the two that have been kind of pitting their sides, their philosophies, their differences, are combining and joining forces into one league in some way, shape, or form. Many of the details are still to be revealed. Many things are still needed to happen, but it is happening. That has been stated, and we got a lot to discuss, even more beyond that might be affecting what lies ahead in the coming weeks. We aren't even teasing because it's just this big of a deal, and we're just going to kick it in here. Look, Stefan, the ref, you guys know him as Bolt. I call him my Bolt here. But look, this is a momentous occasion for what we've been covering, really, honestly, since 2019, when spring football kind of kicked back into gear as like in the focus with the AAF of all things. And now we've got two of the bigger names combining into forces. Supposedly we're going to hopefully see the best of the best pieces together. I can't believe we've gotten here, but now it's real. Like, we're not just talking about an Axios article like we were just last episode, just over a week ago. It's here. It's happening. Right. It took over a week, but it's happening now. It's definitely happening. Jazz hands all around.
Signed up.
We have arrived.
You know, that's the big rumor mill, though, Zachy boy, is now that the intent to merge is out there, it's official. It's been something everybody's been talking about for the last week. It's all that anybody's been talking about for the last week. People love it. Some people don't love it so much. I'd say a good majority do. The one thing, we don't know the name. We surmised, we pontificated, we wondered, we questioned what the name would be. We'll get into that a little bit later, but I'm going to throw my name, my suggestion into the hat. Zach, would you like to hear my suggestion for this coming together, this mother load of spring football jamming together?
Well, drop it. I'm all ears, man. I'm sitting here.
BBL, BBL, Big Beautiful League, baby. Big Beautiful League for me to enjoy this upcoming spring. I could not be happier. It's taking the two things that I love most, the USFL, the XFL, and bringing them together. And this is the thing, and I mentioned this on the X Fan show the other night, which is now a part of Pro Football Newsroom, which we'll also talk about here shortly.
Props
Sign
to that,
them
by
up.
the way. Glad to have
But
them
I
on.
talked about this the other day. You know what I want to see is I want to see the fan groups come together. I want to see the XFL fans. I want to see the USFL fans. And I want to see that rivalry. I want to see the Battlehawks versus the Stallions and those fans going at it. But more importantly, and this is, I've always felt like a little bit of a community ambassador when it comes to spring football, maybe just USFLs, but I am involved in the XFL. I was involved in all of these different things, right? Mm-hmm. For any of the content creators that are thinking about throwing in the hat, I don't think you should. I think this is the beginning of a big, beautiful relationship, a big, beautiful family coming together, a spring football family coming together. And I get it, because I'll tell you, I've been there when the XFL went down in 2020 due to the illness we shall not name. I was hurt. I was beaten. I was broken down. I was battered. I probably gained 10 decibels in loudness, and that's what's led us to where we are today. But I would say don't throw in the hat, not right away. Let's give it that third season, however you want to look at it, and then maybe make your decisions from there. If you do, you do. Sign you up. I think most content creators are like, oh, good, get out of here, less competition. And fair enough. But you know what? I think more people talking about this stuff, the better. Let's be honest.
Right. I'm on that board. I don't want to see anyone depart because of this. You know, I know that there have been vocal fans on both sides of this equation that, you know, they've had either good takes or some have been very loud about their side because that's what they wanted. And, you know, we know this. We see this. We're in these communities every day on social media, on our Discord. By the way, again, really the perfect time to join PFN's Discord. It is popping off like mad because of this, and it's getting more and more of the community together. But this is what we've been used to. But I agree. This is the time to unify well, and especially content creators like us, you know, you shouldn't back off. Like this is to me stabilizing what you want to talk about. Like this is where and what we're wanting to get to if people that were talking about the merger's inevitable. Right. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, if that's the case, then the reason was it's for stability and growing the biggest possible brand that reaches the widest net. And content creation, if you are especially wanting to follow spring football, there's no reason to step away, especially if you love spring football. That's the main thing. And I think I've seen a few people on that are great Twitter accounts. Actually, a person who runs XFL, USFL spring football zone, Brett Tierce, great guy in the community, said it perfectly. It shouldn't matter the league brand, most part. If you love spring football and like the concept of spring football, especially like for content creators, fans, like jump on board. Like don't like to me, there's going to be some bumps. Like you're going to see some consolidations like we talked to merger, but you should jump on board with this. So definitely stick to it. I can't wait to see all these other guys. And there's so many more collaboration opportunities. Not saying there weren't before, but you know, we do kind of stick in our sides of league talk now. I mean, Jesus, man, I'm thinking of guys I want to have on the show like ASAP, you know, and I already talk about it's like Michael Lathrop.
That was the one I was just going to bring up, man. Like that was just going to bring up.
He's like got to be one of the first guys, and he's in our network. You know, he's basically our XFL podcast guy and has been up until we now have of course the X folks with Dirty and Arlington, but you know. We need to get him 100%. You know, but that opens so many possibilities for people, more connections, more collaboration.
Well, what's funny is we were going to use the opportunity of you taking a little hiatus. And ever since we've announced that hiatus, I kind of love it, Zach. Don't get me wrong. I love announcing things. And then it's just like, business as usual, baby. We got news to talk about. Let's roll.
This is the fates aligning. This really is. I should not be this lucky. Like, full disclosure, because we do the non-curtains thing. Like once I'm done talking here, I have to go to work. Like that, I'm basically running out the door after this to go to work. I'll be on time. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But I will gladly use this time.
We'll keep it short, guys at Fox. Trust me.
No, I can't.
Don't blame. Tell them to blame the ref if you're walking in late.
Well, I got to get to. Well, I got to get to work so I can talk about the merger with my coworkers. You know. Well, speaking of that, let's dive a little more into that merger. So. We had press releases from both leagues, but they reflect the same thing. I double checked this; they're the same statement. It's a merger, so they kind of joined it with a cautionary bit on saying details can change, situations can change. You know, but here's the full press release that was released, and I'm using the one from the USFL's post in particular on the graphic. Today, quote this is, quote, today the USFL and XFL announced their intention to merge, subject to customary regulatory approvals, and if the transaction is consummated, the new league will establish best-in-class operations based on the most recent seasons of both leagues. This historic combination will anchor professional spring football with the substantial capabilities and resources to ensure future growth and continue to enhance the development of the collective players, coaches, staff that are coming together. More details regarding the new league will be announced at a later date. And again, for both of these press releases, you have explaining how the leagues are for each, like kind of some structure setup, and you also have kind of cautionary notes saying, hey, this is subject to regulatory approval. Not everything is in stone or guaranteed to be set that way. So we do have to kind of sit back and wait for things to settle it behind the scenes. But this is putting out saying like, hey, Axios was right. We are talking. This is going to happen. Just stay put and wait for the details to drop when we get them ready to go. And that's been, again, more trickling. We'll get into another section here on tickets, because that's another big one that season ticket holders have been holding. But I mean, anything you catch from the PR? I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
I think it tells everybody what we all kind of expected, but it at least makes it official. It at least takes the part of it out of the speculation zone and into the confirmation zone of, yes, we're talking. We intend to merge. Any other details, you're going to have to keep on waiting, right? So you'll notice there's nothing about the name. There's nothing about the locations. And those are the two things that everybody is flailing about, trying to figure out where are these teams going to be played, or all the teams that are in the stadiums currently, are they still going to be there? What is the name of this league going to be? Is it going to be the USFL? Are they going to adopt a new name? Is it going to be the XFL? Is it going to be something completely different? Well, on that note, I guess I think there's a good time to kind of like deviate. So yesterday, the USFL, Fox, trademarked National Spring Football League. Now, if you're thinking to yourself,
how
that name sounds familiar, well, it was the same entity that they used back when they unloaded the USFL properties from the purchase over from Brian Woods. They had National Spring Football League, LLC. They didn't have the trademark, but now they do. And they not only have the National Spring Football League trademark, they have the NSFW trademark, or NSF.
Did you just say NSFW?
See, that was my problem. NSFL. Sorry.
Well, okay. Just for full hilarity of this isn't like the first time I've heard this, because one other news source has tried talking about this on Reddit, and has claimed that he's getting flagged for NSFW content because it's close to the said naming. Now, that is hilarious, but like, yes, I've had people say that, but it's NSFL.
Yeah. Which I get, because it has you a little bit of the familiarity of the NFL, right? So you kind of have that piece in there. Now, there are some out there that worry that the NFL might have a problem with it. I don't think they will, though, because the NFL has a working relationship with the USFL already. They have a working relationship sort of kind of with the XFL. Like, they're already adopting working together to look at the rules and work with the officials. So I don't know if there's going to be so much of a problem there. I mean, only time will tell.
Right.
That's just kind of the case in point that nothing is official until it's official. But I would hope, and I think, and we'll see, and maybe this is a speculation zone for another day, that if they do change the name to the National Spring Football League, that the divisions would then be USFL and XFL. Otherwise, I think they should just keep the USFL name, change it to United Spring Football League if you must change it at all. But you know what? There's still so many things coming down the pipeline, but it's another one of those things that we do have confirmation of, that they're at least locking down these names. Now, I'll play devil's advocate. Does that mean that they're going to use the name? I could say maybe not. We saw the USFL trademark things just to make sure that they own them. Case in point, the Dallas Stallions, the one that made everybody shiver earlier this year, right? Do they have a plan on moving to Dallas? I don't think so, but they want to make sure that nobody else does either. You know what I'm saying? And so, it'll be a fun ride. We have the confirmation. I think a lot of people were hoping that we would get the announcement that the deal was closed. But there's a lot of things that need to muck around with. But once that trademark dropped yesterday, that's when I knew, okay, some news is coming soon, whether it's just a statement or the deal's closing, because generally, businesses will try to line up those trademarks going live with whatever news is coming out, just so you're either not tipping off the news with the trademark, or you're covered by the news coming out one way or the other, right? So I'm curious, Zach, what are your thoughts on the NSFL name? Good, bad, indifferent? Grow on you maybe? I don't know.
Well, I mean, if I'm going to be frank, I just see some of the challenges, because it's going to be a new brand. Like that, if from all the reporting credit, it's speculative still. I'm not going to fully say like, yes, it's all said and done, but like most of the reporting from our guys, our guy James Larson, from we even heard Axios and others that have talked about this story, that it's leaning like it's going a new name. Like they're trying to be, the 50-50 equals. Let's not lean one side or another. The challenges of rebranding are what my only thing that comes up when I talk about this with people, because you have to get it out there that this is, you're representing both these fan bases. This is a new, better collaboration. And I just wonder what the brand looks like. It's very much feeling like it leans more into the USFL's look, if that is the true case, because all you're doing, joking aside, for us, flip the U, put it in N, boom, we have the NSFL. But which I am not, by the way, no matter what that new logo looks like, I'm not totally opposed to just saying F it. That is the new logo.
At least in the interim, because I think it's funny. I think the fact that it works, I'm like, Bob's your uncle, sign us up.
Well, shoot, man, we had great response from that too on our social. So I'm not opposed. I just think the challenge of rebranding is what's going to be the question. Is it worth it? And if not, that's where I think you also step into the side of, do I tip off one side of the fan base that's merging and saying we're taking over, and I think that's part of the other equation is they don't want to, the fans, they don't want to mess with either.
I agree.
We talk about the diehard folks on either side of this community, on these communities. And, there's been some diehard people that, I'm not saying they will, but that are claiming, man, I don't know if I can do this. The USFL brand is set up. And then the third angle of this, maybe it's a reset for both for casual audiences to bring them in, just to move away from what they might be known for. Look, the XFL has had 3 tries. People do remember 01. They remember 2020 very well, but casual fans do point to 01 as one thing that they look and remember the XFL for. Not saying it's always there, but that's a reason why Danny and Dwayne decided when they branded this that they didn't want to be associated anyway with Vince McMahon. So keep that in mind. On the USFL side, as much as it kills me to say this, and we've had this talk so many times on trying to make people and have people understand hubs are for the betterment of survival and betterment for money and stability, which has been proven in the USFL's numbers, mind you. It's also been a hurt towards the casual fan. Casual fans, when you hear USFL now, what do they? A lot of them I see when they talk about on Twitter, they think hub. Hub has a bad context to it, and it's associated with the XFL or the USFL in some ways. So I think that's the third skew. Is they're almost just hitting a button where it's like, look, let's change the PR perception and say, hey, this is different. And I don't know what the different looks like. We talked about ITLs had been reporting that it's going to be hub in some ways associated again. Kind of still, rumors, speculation still, but but solidified in insider industry talk. And so that's where I'm thinking. I think it's a reset. I think that's really what it is to get both those brands, they're old brands. Let's make a new one that gets a clean slate in a way. And you're trying to get both. You already have 2 dedicated fan bases. They know what's going on. Now it's about collect them together and show new fans, ones that are, say, the NFL casual guys, hey, this is good stuff. We're not going away. We decided to do this to make the best of both worlds and to make this where we have the best minds of what this has already been accomplishing. Right. So I think that's why they're doing it. I don't fully agree. I think the USFL is going to have a third season no matter what, and that's talked about, funny enough, in the season tickets. But if you're doing a pure merger, that's kind of what I'm getting, and I'm accepting that. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where these teams land. Because we talked about it last time. It looks like my suggestion may be coming true. It looks like the Gamblers may stick here in Houston. All in on that. I'm all in on that idea if anybody wants to know.
I have great. So I did. Funny you talk that. I'm glad you brought that up. So for those that caught me on XFL Insider Podcast, I talked with the guys that run that show. We decided to run a collective poll associated with their show, and we tagged ours in that, saying, hey, will you support a team in Houston no matter what? And I think this is a big conversation piece because of the rumors swirling that the Gamblers brand might be the one they lean on. And sure enough, come collect the data, 3/4 of the entire votes. We got upwards of 400 votes on this combined from Facebook and X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter. And 75% voted they would support a Houston team no matter what. You have a vocal minority audience that says they are out.
And that's just 25% of the people that haven't realized that they're all in yet, because once we go 1-0, they're going to want to be around for the rest of the 11-0, let alone 24, 36, and maybe even 48-0 when we scoop up at minimum 3 championships. Sign us up back to back to back. Everybody hates the Stallions because they went back to back. We're going to add another back to that, and maybe two. So get ready for the dynasty, baby. And I'll tell you this, no matter what the team name is, no matter what the team logo is, can we make sure that AJ Smith finds himself a spot with this organization in Houston? Because not only is he a madman and gets it done on the field, he's fun as hell to watch in the broadcast. That was one of my favorite parts of the XFL broadcast, AJ Smith. That alone. Because he's like basically playing Madden up there, buddy.
Dude, another one of the grander questions, right? Because like if you do a Houston squad and just part of the whole merger talk, like what happens with some of the rosters and some of the players. Now we did get an email sent out, the USFL did, to its player base that I will read off to you because it does address some of the concerns players are having. There are some talks out there that I imagine that some players are. They want to feel out how this is going to play out, right now. And obviously USFL PA is going to. They're very involved with this merger, as stated previously. But here's what the USFL sent to its players, as reported here. So I'll read it off. Quote, "Dear USFL players, today, the United States Football League and XFL announced the intent to merge. The new league will establish best-in-class operations atop the foundation built over the USFL and XFL's most recent seasons, cementing the future of professional spring football and further enhancing the development of its players, coaches, and staff. We are extremely proud of what we have built over the past 2 seasons. We have shown that the professional spring football model can work, and in many ways have done what many football and business minds thought was impossible. The USFL became the first spring league at scale in approximately 40 years to come back and play a second season, and it happened because of you," in caps, by the way. Meanwhile, the XFL defined its own success this past season, cementing that the time is right to combine the USFL and XFL into a joint entity. As such, the USFL agreed to terms with the XFL's ownership group and recently submitted the necessary filings for a proposed merger. The regulatory review process is underway and does not come with any guaranteed outcomes. We remain focused and as committed as ever to deliver the heightened level of excitement for USFL's 3rd season. We realize this news creates many questions, and we will continue to communicate with all of you as new information becomes available throughout this process. We are excited about the future and hope be able, that was a mess up on the typo. They did that, by the way, and hope to be able to share more details regarding the new league at a later date.
So again, it's more of, look, everything's good, business as usual, we're moving apart. Not a lot of details to share, but at least confirming, because I can imagine, it's one thing, we're the fans, we're the crazies, we're sitting online, we hear the rumor, they might be merging, everybody's running off, everybody has this story, that story, another story, there's some things that we hear, some things that we don't hear. Imagine being a player. Imagine being on one of these teams and be like, well, okay, I play for the New Orleans Breakers. These things come together. Is that hub going away? Are we playing? Are we moving into our city? So I can understand there's probably a little bit of antsiness on both sides, XFL and USFL. These letters go out to hopefully minimize that, put everybody at ease. Look, it's all going to figure itself out. Now, it'll be interesting to see. I was actually talking to James Larson about this earlier. Like, okay, let's say a team does go away. We'll use the Vegas Vipers as an example. We already knew they weren't going to play in Cashman. There's rumors maybe they were going to move to Tempe, maybe Portland, maybe even Tennessee, right? There was all sorts of thoughts on there. But let's say now that this happens, they say, look, we're merging together. This is one of the teams that's going to go away. Well, let's say there's multiple teams. What do you do with those players? Because I feel like the other teams are going to have openings. Now, let me throw an idea out there, and this would I will admit it would be a little interesting to see how it plays out. But what if they had, all the teams that dissolve, take those players, put them in like an extra, like a supplementary draft pool or something, right? Ooh. And so then you have the rest of the teams pick up these guys. Now, this was to James's point earlier was, well, that works, but then it takes away the chemistry that any of these existing teams had built up over the last year or maybe even 2 seasons, depending on, if it's a USFL team. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I think, there's a lot of concern on, well, we don't want to see players and coaches lose their opportunities. I think that there's still going to be space, even if there's less teams, just from turnover alone. Not every player goes on to that was in season 1 went on to play season 2, whether they got picked up by the NFL, whether they moved to the CFL. Some of them plain just retired, right? Some of the coaches didn't come back. They retired. They moved on to new opportunities, things like that. So I think there is going to be enough room to fit these guys in. I think for the most part, at least to have minimal damage out there. But then, the other piece of it that we don't know, and we touched on this in our speculation episode, if you will, how does this impact the Players Association? So now that we have more players that are available, like, maybe that ends up building out the practice squads, right? And, maybe not optimal, but there's still an opportunity for you there. You're still playing, you're still earning an income. And, maybe even like a team 9 situation, like we had in the original XFL.
So, that was going to be my lead in for, if you didn't say it, was I wonder if like you do a team 9 in some way. Like you can't save all them, all the players. I don't think that's possible. I do think a supplemental draft wouldn't be a bad idea if, say, you have these guys under contract and, I don't want to ignore the showcases. Like if, say, the XFL's got coming up, but if you're the PA and you're saying, okay, I'm taking under the umbrella these XFL rosters, like they're joining our Players Association, I would think that's what you would argue for, is give them a shot to have them represented to where they get at least signed on, so that you go into a camp and you at least get the option to try for a spot. Like without, like if you like, that's, I think the most fair way of doing it. It's not going to be complete saving grace, because in a supplemental draft, you still lose out a good chunk of spots. You're still going to have roster spots left that are people that didn't get filled, but it does at least give you the option to try and fill up the roster with those existing players, and then you can reset next year, and you can then go back to the open market a little more, or during the season. We've seen it in both leagues. They both openly will exchange, just like any other football franchise. They will look at the free agent market, what's available. People come in, people go out. But for now, that might be the best option, and then seeing if you can expand the practice squad. One thing that I don't know enough about, and I would love to pick the brain of Ryan Cave or, Kenneth Farrow on this, is, how does this affect a collective bargaining agreement, in the sense that you're adding more of these players, and like, can you collectively bargain for a team 9 or a extended practice squads? Because these numbers were dictated, remember, last summer, and it's kind of, in a way, you would have to go back to the negotiating table, I would think, to kind of add on these pieces. It was kind of like how when we talked about the AAF back in the day, like with their, NFL, like trying to talk to get in the NFL, it was like, well, you're going to have to go back to the bargaining table, because the PA's got to be involved, and they got to make a new CBA with these designations in it, in a way. And so that's fascinating. I want to see what happens with the USW and the UFLPA. Like, how do they manage this? Because I think the supplemental draft makes the most sense, but I almost wonder, like, I want team 9, but can you even accomplish team 9 in a reasonable amount of time to fit with the collective bargaining agreement that's in place?
And what is it? Because it probably won't be team 9. We don't know the number of teams. We've heard 3 different. I've heard 10, I've heard 12, I've heard 14, and I've even heard 16. I don't think it's going to be 16. I just don't.
Right. The one thing that's, I guess, the straight line part is that, and it's to me, it was unfortunate, because I really thought they should have got this done, but like, it's only one union. The XFL didn't have one yet. They were talking about trying to get one with the NFL, PA, and that it wasn't dead, but the one that the USW tried to start didn't work. So at least you have one party that's going to be most likely managing, if I had to take a stab at it, and from what it looks like on the outside, is managing the brunt force of the new PA base. But that part of where some of the extras go on the wayside, you're going to have collateral damage either way. It sucks, but like, their job is to mitigate the collateral
100%,
damage at the end of the day.
100%. So yeah, it'll be, I mean, it's crazy to think of how much stuff that needs to be sorted before the deal gets closed, after the deal gets closed, and we really don't even know when this is going to kick off. I know the rumor out there is it's probably going to be April. It's going to follow similar to the USFL's traditional schedule, which there's pros to that too, because now you don't have to compete with March Madness. You don't have to compete with a few other big sporting events early on in the year. The USFL or Fox would probably make the point if it gives fans a chance to miss football a little bit coming off of the NFL. The alternative thought is
more market.
You could roll right into football. So I kind of get both ways.
You get marketing lead up, so you're not having the NFL drown you out a little bit. That's the other thing, because NBC and ABC, like if the rumor is it's all over the air channels, like your TV promo space is going to be filled up. Like even when Fox was doing NFL content, like they were better off post Super Bowl for having just NASCAR as their main focus and the USFL to promote it. So that's probably the argument too, is like, well, if we're trying to build this and brand it and add on concrete fan bases and new fans, wouldn't you want a little bit more of a lead up? And I think that's another thing you're considering. But again, this is all rumored. Like they're definitely saying like, we're not dropping details until we have them set up, just like the USFL and really the USFL and the XFL have been saying this, but like the USFL specifically, we know has been saying this and has been doing this since day one. Like we do it our way. It's our word. You're going to hear from us first. That's how we do it. I can't
be mad at them about that. I know there's a lot of people that are like, wow, everybody's being so tight-lipped right now. I'm like, no, that's just a merger. That's how mergers work, because it's not like, okay, if you leak something when it's just regular business stuff, you'll probably get in trouble. You get a slap on the wrist. Maybe you even get fired. If you leak something out about a merger, there's like legal implications that could come into play, right? So I don't blame anybody for being tight-lipped. I'm actually amazed that we learned as much as we have during this time. Now, when the deal closes, I don't even think we'll get all the details then. I mean, case in point, you brought up the TV market or the broadcast partners. Again, that's one of the things that's been floating around. It sounds like, again, best of both worlds, big, beautiful league, BBL. They both saw, hey, when we were aired on Fox or NBC or ABC, we did pretty flipping good. When we aired it on cable, we didn't do bad, but we didn't do nearly as good. What would you think happens if we put all our games on over-the-air television? Well, the hope is they all do really good, and by the end of the season, you can ramp up that viewership and top out with your championship game. I mean, we saw some amazing ratings out of the USFL last year. Even the XFL, I mean, they kind of about averaged out. But, that lead-in from the Kentucky Derby, what did it bring it? 2.3, 2.6 million people to that USFL game.
That's good.
That's
good
something
drops,
that's a lot harder to get with that earlier schedule, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's great drops for ratings. And again, if the focus is over the air, it's a smart decision because they see that, hey, the more free the access, the better. Because again, cable, it's a different viewing environment than 3 years ago. Like we talked in our last episode. I am amazed anymore looking back at XFL 2.0 ratings that FS1 of all channels had a 1.5 million viewership game. Like, just think about that. How that is an insane drop in viewership to the USFL, and it still boggles me, that has happened.
Speaking of which, shout out, I was going to say the reason that is cord cutting is going through the roof, and shout out to Cord Cutters News, because they sourced us in one of their articles, and I'm actually a fan of Cord Cutter News. I just clicked the article. I was like, hey, look, that's my name. That's my name.
I read them all the time for part of my TV industry get set up for like just reading in. That was an awesome part of my day. Last week was they referenced Pro Football Newsroom.
Pro Football Newsroom, by the way, we didn't even talk about this. We went through a merger of our own. Actually, I wouldn't call it a merger. I wouldn't call it a rebrand. It's ultimately the culmination of everything that we've been working on the last 5+ years. The natural evolution of the Newsroom brand. We started out actually as XFL 2K. That was my first foray into lawyers with the XFL. And they said, no, we might want to use that one later. So that's when we changed the XFL Newsroom, like in the first year. Then, the illness that shall not be named happened, the spring league came around. Then we kicked off TSL newsroom. That turned out into being USFL newsroom. We've have arena newsroom. And sooner or later, I think everybody's seen the meme of me, like of the lime guy holding all the logos. And with another potential rebrand on the way, if it goes from USFL to NSFL, we could easily do that. And we are going to secure down whatever the new league name is, podcast, website, all of that. But I think it's just the perfect time we are Pro Football Newsroom. We have a brand new logo. It's nice and damn clean.
Yes, the sooner I can get a hat with that logo on it, the better. Would be
I need
great.
to order mine as well. But the beautiful thing about the site, for anybody out there that's curious, no longer, you can still go to xflnewsroom.com and get the XFL news. You can still go to usfl.com, get the USFL news. Same with arenanewsroom.com. But if you go to profootballnewsroom.com or just pfnewsroom.com, you're going to get all of the news aggregated, over 3,000 pieces of content in one spot. All of the draft information from all the leagues, all of our podcasts, the X Fan Show podcast, the Player 54 podcast, and all of the same great news from me, our friends, James Larson, Luke Miller, all of them over at profootballnewsroom.com. I had to slide it in there somewhere, Zachy boy. But I'm in that merger mindset. I can't help myself. But just to get us back on track, we went over the release, the press release on the intent to merge. We went over the release to the players. You read the first two. I'm going to take on the season ticket one for you.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Because naturally, they want to reach out to the people that have put their hard-earned money on the line, like me, because, as much people say that I don't like the XFL, I put my money on the line for those Roughnecks tickets, and it looks like I may have put the money on the line for those Gamblers tickets all in. But let's see what kind of message they had for your boy over here. USFL season ticket member. Our loyal fan bases are the cornerstone of our success, and as a season ticket member, your support of the USFL is appreciated. I love it. Sign me up. Following today's historic announcement of the USFL and XFL's intent to merge, we're reaching out to share what we know at this time. Recently, you placed a deposit for Season 3 season tickets, and you likely have some questions on how today's announcement might impact your investment. There are several details still to be determined, and it's uncertain that the merger will be finalized. So again, that's the big thing. And you know what? There's some people probably hoping for it, but I think you should be careful what you wish for. I think it's a good thing that these leagues are coming together. Make sure that they both survive. The USFL gets to season 3, the XFL gets to season 2, because what I don't want to happen is something happens in the mix. The merger doesn't get finalized. The USFL moves on to season 3, but the XFL gets lost in the dust. I don't want to see that happen, but it is a reality. Yeah. So if the merger is finalized, your deposit for season tickets will remain valid for the inaugural season of the new league. So interesting wording there, Zachy boy. No longer are we talking about a season 3. This, it seems like, could be considered year 1 of a new league. So that's interesting. Should a refund need to be issued, you'll receive a communication directly from your season ticket representative. Also seemingly leaving on the table that maybe some of these locations might not stick. I think that might be more of a CYA comment, cover your ass, than anything. That's what I was so I wouldn't read into it too much. Yeah. So it's for anybody that's worrying out there. If the merger does not close, we intend to proceed with season 3 of the USFL, and your deposit for season tickets will remain valid. So one of the things that was basically the only thing we could for sure confirm last week, the USFL is playing to season 3. They're going to be on the field one way or another, merger or not. So this seems to confirm that. Either way, we will continue to provide you the same high-quality game day experience you've come to expect from the USFL. Your season ticket representative will connect you with more information as it becomes available. And I love the last line. The future is bright for spring football, and we are grateful for your ongoing support. And I'm grateful for you sending the letter. Sign us up.
Get reassurance.
No, exactly right. So all in all, I think we have more questions than ever. Some of them have been answered. Yes, the leagues are looking at merging. Yes, it seems like they're looking at a new name. Yes, there's a possibility that not all 16 teams make the cut, at least in this inaugural year. You know, the door's always open for the Bandits, which wouldn't it be interesting if one team goes away and the Bandits, wouldn't it be interesting if the Guardians become the Bandits now, like the twist?
Could you imagine?
The twist. I know a couple fans down in Florida that would be ecstatic of that happening. I think we talked about him and his son a couple weeks ago and all that.
We had a joke in the Discord recently that you saw that some folks are like, well, we'll just bring the Orlando Renegades back. And I'm like, well, I mean, you could in theory. They do own that. I think I jokingly put this out there as like, oh yeah, we'll just get Lee Corso back. Because fun fact, Lee Corso coached the Orlando Renegades back in the 80s, for those that didn't know. So bring him from College Game Day, slap him in there with a headset.
It'd be perfect.
Give him a mascot head. I don't know.
Exactly. Sign him up. Just let him do his thing. Let him be out there on the sidelines. Even if he's doing nothing at all, I'll watch. I'll get signed up.
Yeah, I did see, and I got this just before we jumped on. Someone graciously shared the XFL side of the ticket announcement well, or at least to their assurance on here. I'll read this one up. I know I'm taking a lot of reads, but here we go. This is from their ticket department. From specifically signed by Jason Ganella, Senior Vice President of Ticket
Good guy,
Sales
by the way. Shout
XFL.
out to Jason. He's a good guy.
Yeah, and I was going to say, this connects more to you because you do have Roughneck season tickets. So, you know, here's their angle or their side of the story on this. Good morning or afternoon. I'm writing to you with some important news. This is probably in your inbox too, by the way, 100%. So you're probably going to read this. Today, we are announcing that the XFL and USFL have announced their intention to merge. The combination of these two leagues will anchor professional spring football with sustainable capabilities and resources to ensure future growth, with continuing to enhance the development of our players. While this is big news, until the deal closes, the XFL will continue to run business and football operations as usual. We look forward to sharing more information with you about the deal when we can. And then in bold, most importantly, your money and season tickets are safe. Similar message from both sides. As we continue to discuss and finalize details about what the combined leagues look like, we will uphold and honor any decision you make regarding your season tickets. We have to thank you, our loyal fans, for the ongoing support and immediate embrace of the XFL. We are incredibly excited for the future of our league and for the growth of spring football. We look forward to sharing more details at a later date. In the meantime, we encourage you to reach out for any questions via email at jason.ganella@xfl.com. So similar, a little bit more paraphrased, which is interesting because I mean, like, I'm not gonna read too much into the weeds, but like I did find it night. I thought it was really reassuring, like USFL, and this is what we've heard as a message too, that no matter what happens, USFL season 3 is happening. So like, you know, I'm not reading too far into the sales tickets here for Ganella. Like I assume XFL 2.0 is happening no matter what, but it was nice to see in the USFL section that they're like, don't worry, if this falls through, we are here. Your deposit is here no matter what. And it's good to hear both of them. This is what you expect from both, of course. But I do find it fascinating, just the wording, I guess, of both sides and how they phrase this setup, if anything.
100%.
You know?
100%. So,
my full disclosure to those listening, you read into that as you wish. I'm just telling you, I found that a little interesting.
Well, it is interesting, and that's the thing. And this is, again, I know people get mad at me about what I say and how I say it, but this is the truth. This is the truth. There's no spin, no nothing. I have been able to confirm that the USFL will be playing season 3, merger or not. I have not been able to do the same on the XFL. That does not mean that they are not, but it is interesting that it is not in that letter, as you pointed out. Now, we'll see. We'll see what the merger looks like before, during, and after. Clearly, we're in the thick of it, in the mud. If they change the name to NSFL, well then, hey, sign us up. We hope you join us because I'm not, you know what? Unlike them, I'm not starting at season 1. It's going to be episode 69 or 70, or is going to be the first episode of the NSFL podcast, because I'm not starting over.
There's no reset here. Like we're
stick flipping that N upside down. I mean, it couldn't work out more perfect, at least for a little bit. Maybe until the season starts, or maybe we'll debut a new logo at the beginning for like season 3 of the show. Who knows? But I kind of like the idea. And you, like you said, we got some good traction out there, and we don't have to overhaul the brand. Now, what I would love to see is watch the USFL do the same thing. Just flip that bad boy upside down. Hey, I know some of you guys got to be watching the show. You can have the idea for free. I stole it from you. How about that?
You know they have the font, so like, yeah, you could be that cheesy. Like, it wouldn't be that hard to just slap an N with the freaking red, white, and blue flag set up onto it and say, this is what we're doing. You know, it would look weird because people are like, that's just the USFL, but with one extra label.
Yeah, but I love it. I love that logo. The USFL logo gets me up every day.
No, it's a classic. I like it a lot. It speaks retro, but like in a good nostalgic way. That's why they used it, for crying out loud. One final piece, and this is how, just to wrap things up before we close out. I did find this tweet interesting. Josh Gerben, some of you may know, he's very active on the kind of like UST, the United States Postal Trademark Office or Patent and Trademark Office kind of lingo, and he works in that field. He had a very fascinating tweet about the NSFL trademark, and at least if his take on it comes to fruition, that's something to keep an eye on down the road. Is he mentions in this tweet on X, the USFL has filed a new trademark application, 22 in total, for National Spring Football League and NSFL. This could potentially be the name, of course, the merger. Here's the piece you should listen to that I do think is something to keep an eye on, because some people brought this up as well, is if so, I think it's likely the NFL will object to both trademarks. And look, the full name you read the full name and you read I think the full name is what speaks more than, say, the acronym, because I don't know. I can see the NFL doing this because they did this over, like, the freaking Roughnecks secondary logo, or, the Houston Oilers and Houston Roughnecks logo things, where it's like, oh, it's just close enough. Where the naming is, oh, I see, you just slap spring in the middle of National Football League. All right, time to go to court. And I'm like, I hate it, but I see that actually happening, and that's what kills me, is because the NFL is that petty and would do it.
I think we're fine.
I'm watching out for it. I don't know. I'm watching out for it because I've seen them be petty like this. That's all I can tell you.
My hope is because beyond Fox working with the NFL in regards to the USFL, Fox is a very strong broadcast partner for the NFL during their regular season. And I would hope that their partnership is so strong and that they have such an open discussion and dialogue that maybe they've had some of these conversations going into this. Because something to keep in mind, although the trademark is new, the name is not new at all. This is a name we've seen over a year ago when they were onboarding.
And it's in the LLC.
Exactly right.
It's in the LLC.
So we'll see. Could they be petty? 100%. 100%. We'll have to see. And I would hope that by the time, because there's still the things that need to happen regulatory from the deal, but by the time that it closes, you would hope that whatever conversations that need to happen, if they haven't happened already, happen to ensure that what you don't want is you start the season and 3 weeks in, they're like, hey, wait a second here. Stop that. You don't want that, because that was the worry season one with the USFL name. You don't want that situation again,
Did someone say injunction?
Right.
No. So here's what I think. If I'm being a little bit more like how I feel that would work. So like say this really is the name. Like trademarks are being filed like this. It's feeling like it's very much going to be that name. What I think will happen is, you're first going to come in and go, okay, well, the brand's important not only to show off to people, but if the NFL even thinks about talking to us and saying, hey, you want to have a court date? Or at least we're going to file something with the patent office and trademark office and make you like sweat about it. They're going to try their best to differentiate and say, look, this logo is different. It says spring in the title. It's a football league, but it's not. We aren't competing with you. We aren't trying to steal your image. NSFL doesn't. To me, putting spring in the full name, that's the argument where it's like, guys, we are differentiating ourselves right away from you. We're saying we're in the spring. It is common knowledge that the NFL and football is played in the fall. We are specifically staying in our name. We are a spring variant of or version of football. So That's what we'll probably lean in. And the brand style will be big too. However they lean into it, like they'll be like, look, this logo, these icons are completely different. Like a consumer can look at this and say, this is not the NFL.
Right.
Just don't use a shield. Like, don't be that guy and make a shield logo and go, oh, the shield.
Right.
I see. Let's chat about this.
Right.
I don't think they're going to do that.
No, I don't. You would hope not, at least.
They're smarter than that.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, the USFL, for crying out loud, went through this with the USFL. I think they realize, Fox knows, I don't want to go to court, especially with the NFL. I don't want to deal with that.
Now, we could even jump into a speculation zone on a future episode on, is this a sign that maybe there is talks about working together with the NFL in an official capacity? Because one thing that struck out to me, and I think it stuck out to a lot of other people, was, well, this reminds me of the G League and the way that their logo, their structure is, and it's kind of a variation of the existing like professional league, for lack of better terms, if you will, the big boy, if you will. So maybe I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but maybe a topic for a future speculation zone for sure. Either way, I'm fine with this name. I'm fine with them keeping the USFL. The one thing, and I know some XFL fans are going to hate me to say this, but I think this is a really good opportunity for the collective league to shed the X, because it doesn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything in 2001, even though some people wanted it to mean extreme. And let's say it did mean extreme. It doesn't fit the mold of what the XFL was in 2020 or 2022. It's not really an extreme league where they're in the girls' locker rooms with cameras like they were in 2001. It's more of this is another professional football league. Now you could argue the X stands for the cross section between blah blah blah. No, fine, whatever. It doesn't really. It can in theory, but the cross section or whatever you want to say doesn't start with the letter X. So I hate to break it to you. To me, get it out of the main name. And so I'm fine, because I think you brought up the big point earlier. I think what both sides would probably be worried about is jilting one fan base over another, because you don't want to merge and then just lose the people that were coming over. Right. So you kind of have to have a little bit of a compromise. Isn't that what every great relationship is all about, is compromise? Well, this is like no different.
I mean, mergers are basically compromises for corporations anyway. It's the collective greater good can bring in more profit and more growth and capital, yada, yada, yada. That's really what merger stands for. It's corporate compromise. That's how I look at it. So, we're officially here though. I guess to put it towards the end of this, we've officially arrived. The merger's here. We are seeing where it goes now. But it is upon us. It is out in the open. No hiding things anymore. This is and even ESPN reconfirmed they're trying to go next year with whatever the name is, whatever this looks like. 2 is becoming 1 for 2024.
Yep. And it's crazy too, because with the timing, I know there's still some folks out there trying to read into the press release and saying, well, this deal wouldn't happen until 2024. So they're thinking both of these leagues are going to play a season next year and then do the merger. Maybe. I don't think so. I think that's wishful thinking. And you know what? Sign them up. But I think both of these leagues want to get this deal done. The USFL, we know, confirmed playing season 3. We don't know the same about the XFL. Again, not to say that they weren't or aren't, but you know what? I haven't heard it. And to me, that goes a long way, right? So I want to see both of these things survive. And if it's through a merger, let's get it done. Let's get it done as fast as we can. Let's get the growing pains out of the way, because even season 3, season 2, or season 1 of a collective new league, let's get on the field. You kind of got to go back to that game plan. Get on the field. Let's make it happen. Season 2, let's maybe get some of those markets back into play, right? Maybe Seattle gets lost in the mix, because again, Seattle might have a stadium, but man, when you look at this geographically, Seattle's a whole new world of hurt when you consider the USFL is basically everything is east of the Mississippi other than Houston, H-Town, all in.
West Coast travel's brutal for the travel costs, man. I mean, that's the thing. So this is all part of the discussion, of course, because I mean, you are saying national. If you are sticking with that NSFL name, it is national, but again, if we're trying to make it where it's the most stable thing, like, I don't know, everything's up for discussion is how
Right.
I view it. It's just like, that is part of it. Like West Coast travel, like I said, going cross country is expensive, especially for entire rosters of teams that might have to do it. Keep that in mind when you are considering what they got to pay for.
Well, not even pay for, but think about being a player. That's a long plane ride, compared to if you're going from Birmingham to Memphis, what is that? Probably a 45-minute plane ride. Even to Detroit, an hour, 2 hours. Seattle?
Praise the guys that did, especially the XFL players for this. Praise the XFL players that had to do travel like that all last year that weren't in Arlington. That's one thing, because that's a brutal schedule.
Yeah, again, imagine if you play in Arlington, it's great. You don't have to go anywhere. If you play in Houston, not too bad. You play in San Antonio, not too bad. But the Sea Dragons, any home game, they're flying to the top northwest of the country every time. And then if they're, to me, that's going to be a tough one. I don't want to see them go though. I want as many of these teams to stay.
It's a good brand.
That one is going to be a tough one. And I would say I wouldn't be surprised if they do get cut out of the mix, at least for season 1 of whatever this is. And that's not based on anything I heard. That's just logistics alone, because you have a majority of your teams in the Southeast and one team, because you don't even have Vegas anymore. You don't even have that hop skip in the middle. So you have Seattle and then Texas and then everything else kind of over in the East Coast in the Southeast, right? Man, that's it depends on how they do the hub situation though too. Are they going to do it like they did in the XFL where they're in Arlington? Or are they going to do it like the USFL where those teams are based in those actual hub cities? This is the beauty of it, Zachy boy. We have content for weeks.
Yeah, I mean, here's a speculative one that I had pitched to me was, and I kind of shared this with you. And I'm feeling it out. There's a lot of stuff flying around right now. Like it's kind of a madhouse, but the ITL article referenced 6 hubs. Well, I had it mentioned to me and suggested to me, well, what if the other 6 cities use the XFL side of this equation? They fly 6 teams out every week. Thus, you have 6 hubs that you have less travel, because you're going to have more teams that are still going to play in the same city and they're housed in the same city. You cut down on the travel cost that the XFL was doing, and you don't have the stigma of no fans in the stands as much because I went to a home market. And then you institute the USFL's measures of we're engaging with the communities we're in. We're, being part of those communities more so than not, even though we're only in certain cities as hubs, we are making damn sure that we're making an impact and that we're there. Again, it's a speculation zone thing to me that put out, but it's been passed along to me in some capacity. And I'm like, that kind of isn't too crazy, especially if you're talking that the projections are 6-6 each side. I don't know. Like, that's something I'm kind of like, it's not too wild, but I have to wait and see.
I know. Well, that's the beauty of this. I'll tell you this, because you got me really excited for the idea of a Houston Gamblers fan engagement event. Like Brett Zaleski, you know who else lives out in Houston? Come and let me help you rock this show. I will bring some, I don't know if they're good people, but they'll be there. We're going to be having fun. I will help.
What do you got a card house? Is that what they have in Texas?
Oh, like the poker rooms. Yeah.
It's perfect. Dude, freaking charity event right there. Charity
Sign
poker.
us up.
You already have one thing there.
And you know what? If you come to the event, you'll all have a chance to see the Refla in real life. The ref's Tesla with the vanity license plates.
That's right.
Dude, I'm going to get some swangas for that bad boy. Zach, have I ever told you what swangas are? They're a Houston exclusive. They're rims that like jut out. They have like big cones that come out with like spikes on the end. I'm getting them. Sign me up. Ref swangas, swanging every day. But no, I'm super excited. And you know what? You mentioned a charity event. I don't even know if I brought this up to you, but our friends at the X Fan Show, I always want to call them the XFL STL Show, because that's what they were originally back in the day. But the X Fan Show, members of the newsroom crew, They were planning on doing a charity event come this February for the Houston's women's shelter. So it looks like I might help get involved with them. So A-Train and I might be doing some.
Well, that's right, because A-Train's down there by you. That would be a great. You need to get on that.
We are. So we talked about it last week. So hopefully we'll have more details on that soon. So we might be doing, I think the idea was do it in February because the season was going to start. But depending on what this merger looks like, maybe we do it early as a fan engagement event to get people excited about the upcoming season. Or maybe we wrap it into Spring Stock, baby. Spring Stock 3! The coming together, the beautiful, we are one family. Spring Stock 3, I know we're so many months away, but if you were worried that this merger was going to make sure that Spring Stock didn't happen, I hate to break it to you. Spring Stock 3, I knew it was going to be bigger and better than ever before, but little did I know, now this is going to be, to me, the community coming together party, the best. Come on, bring us those XFL fans. Bring us the USFL fans, and as a potential NSFL community, let's come together, baby. Spring Stock 3, and I have ideas on what I want to do. If anybody knows the old Woodstock, what was it? It was the coming together, people coming from all parts of the country. That's kind of why we named it, but the other part of it, it was all the big bands that you could imagine, and we've kind of done that throughout the other two Spring Stocks and Summer Stocks where we've had guests on, but I think it could be really neat to have the X-Fan show, here's 30 minutes or an hour or whatever. I don't know what the timing would look like. This is your show for 30 minutes, almost like a band would have a set at Woodstock. So early thoughts, and hopefully we can revolve it around charity because the Houston Women's Shelter is actually one of the better, more respectable charities out here in the Houston market. So I'm really looking forward to that. So as we get more details, we'll let you know. Will it be at Spring Stock 3? Will it be something else? We'll keep you posted. But some more news. But like I said, Spring Stock 3, Summer Stock 3, I challenge everybody out there to make sure you can fit it in. And if you can't come to Spring Stock, we get it, but you should definitely try to make it out to the home opener for whatever team you're nearby. Let's show this league. Let's show these two companies coming together that we're here to support them. We love spring football. This isn't about names anymore. This isn't about, I like this league and I like this league. They're one league, one company, one beautiful league coming together to give us, hopefully, the best product that we've seen, the most sustainable spring football league that we've seen in nearly 40 years because the last one is still around, and that's the USFL, baby. And I'm feeling damn good. I'm feeling it.
Let's get at it.
Big, beautiful league.
Most stable chance we have for the spring football to last forever. It is right here, right now. We have that choice to help make it that way. I mean, hey, man, I'm excited. Panthers, I hope you're here. Battlehawks, I'm sticking, and
you got a tough one to figure out now.
It is. It's a good point. It's hard for me to say. I'll think about this. I got a whole off season to debate. I got gear from both, like in equal numbers. So I really can't tell you which one I'm going to choose. And I'm not close to either one of them. So this isn't a location thing. It really comes down to preferences and thinking back, but you'll see.
Luckily my fandom doesn't waver. All in. Even if they do name them the Roughnecks, I'm calling them the Gamblers, I think. I don't know. We'll see.
H-Town. Yeah, it's just H-Town vibes.
Just change it to the Houston Swangers. Let's go. Or the Houston Refs.
Swangers.
You don't even need a mascot. I'll run around the field, And speaking of which, come on, guys. Let me just throw this one out there. If the league is rebranding, this is your opportunity. No more excuses. Sign your boy the ref up with a USFL ref shirt. If they're not ever going to be used and they're not going to be on the field to where you have to worry about me doing the thing that I joke about, running on the field and throwing a flag, you don't have to worry if the league has a new name. Sign your boy ref up with a ref shirt. Come on, sign us up. And Zach, I don't know, what do you want from the league? You want like a Gatorade?
What do I want
like
from
one of
the
those
league?
big Gatorade jugs from the side of the sidelines? I mean, we might as well get our asks in while we can.
What do I want from? I want a neon sign for my set. That's what I want. So, hey, you guys got some extra cash? let me set something up. I got a plug right here. I'll pop this bad boy right in the corner. Something's going here eventually. Like I know.
I mean,
I would not mind it being a neon.
We're the grassroots leaders. I mean, we need some stuff hanging out over here. Give us a ref shirt. Give us a sign. Give us a something. Give us a wink. I don't care. Even if it's a smile, I'll be happy. No, I kid. I kid, because let's be honest here. The USFL and even the XFL has always treated me with they've always treated us well. So just for anybody out there that doesn't get that I joke about everything, I love both of these leagues because they both treated me well. But hey, I ain't gonna be mad if you shoot over a ref shirt my way, sign you up.
Oh man. Well, I think we're gonna cut it off for now. We're going to keep posted to this podcast, USFL podcast, NSFL
limited podcast, time only, maybe. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. I think moving forward, you'll probably see our retrofitted NSFL logo until said otherwise. But that's what the vibe's going towards. So, stick with us. We'll jump on for shows as news comes out. You know us. We're right in the thick of this with all of you. So, stick with us. Stick with Pro Football Newsroom, by the way.
PF Newsroom, baby. Make sure you're following it over there. Make sure you're following at USFL Podcast, at XFL Newsroom, at USFL Newsroom. But like I said, the culmination of 5 years, the evolution of everything we've been working on, Pro Football Newsroom. Make sure you're following us at PF Newsroom, Facebook, Twitter, all the good places, because that's where you're getting all the news from all the leagues. You're never going to miss it. And make sure you subscribe, click the bell. It builds morale. Are you an XFL fan and you like, my team, my league's going away? Well, join us, because we are going to make you feel good. You're going to get a little bit of morale out of pressing that bell. And you'll always know when new videos are dropping and when we go live, because, hey, if you've been only paying attention to the XFL stuff, you may have missed out on all the awesome content that we've been putting out for the last 2 flipping years, Zecky boy. What a ride. What a ride.
I'm looking forward to this. Exciting times ahead. But definitely some stuff to figure out. Just stay tuned to us. Guys, enjoy the ride. Come along for the ride. We welcome all of you in, and we'll have some more fun episodes ahead. Some collaborative ones, I think, too, on the horizon. So stay tuned for that. For the ref, I'm Zach Kyleman saying so long. Catch you next time for episode 69 of the USFL Podcast for whatever happens next. Thanks, everybody.